How can I scan barcodes in my Blazor Hybrid application? Or how can I use maps in my .NET MAUI Blazor application? That is just a couple of the questions that I get under my videos. So it's probably about time to see how we can mix a Blazor Hybrid application with native .NET MAUI in a .NET MAUI Blazor hybrid application. Now, before we dive straight into the code, let's establish a couple of things so that everyone can follow along here. So on the one side, we have .NET MAUI Blazor or Blazor Hybrid. It's the same thing with two different names, where you have still a .NET MAUI application, but inside of that, you will load a Blazor application. So you will get the best of Blazor. You can use HTML, CSS. You will get all kinds of responsiveness. It looks kind of pixel perfect on all the platforms, right? So that is really cool. And on the other side, you have .NET MAUI, which translates everything into the native look and feel on how it's supposed to look like on that platform, right? So there is those two things. And with .NET MAUI Blazor or Blazor Hybrid, you can still leverage all the power of .NET MAUI, right? Because it's a .NET MAUI app still. The only thing that you kind of change, if you want to put it like that, is that you take the XAML and the code and you throw that out and you model your UI with HTML and CSS, right? So that's, I mean, it's a bit more advanced than that, of course, but that's kind of like the easiest way to put it. Now, if we go back to the examples, now how can I scan barcodes and how can I show maps? If you want to do that in Blazor, there is options for that, obviously, but maybe, you know, you want to use something that is inside of .NET MAUI, which is a native thing, but you want to use that in Blazor. Well, you can use a Blazor web view. That's how we put the Blazor inside of your .NET MAUI app. You can use that as an element inside of your application, right? You can make that an element inside of your application, but you cannot do it the other way around. You cannot put a .NET MAUI element inside of your Blazor page, inside of your Razor page. That's not something that you can do. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways, 3 ways actually, on how to mix .NET MAUI native and Blazor together. Here in Visual Studio 2022, I created a file new .NET MAUI Blazor application, and you can see it here on the left in Visual Studio. On the right, you can see a physical Android device that I have right here. It's mirrored on my screen here on the right, and I can interact with it right here from my computer as well, so that's pretty cool. But here on the left, you can see like this Blazor web view, right? So we're loading that. Our complete application will be this Blazor web view, and inside of that is our Blazor application, and that's where you're going to do all your things, right? That's typically how you would use this Blazor Hybrid application. Now, one of the kind of like more obvious ways to mix and match these things is if you are going to make this a tabbed page, right? So now we're going to make this a tabbed page, and inside of a tabbed page, we can have multiple content pages, right? So I can make this a content page, and I can wrap this in a content page right here. Maybe this is not going to work with hot reload. We'll see in a minute. And we can give this content page a title, right? So let's make this a title, and let's name this index first. And if I'm going to copy and paste this, I'm going to give it another content page, and I'm going to say counter, because, you know, your typical Blazor application has the counter here as well. So we go to this counter page, we have this one, right? So we have all that, and I can add another one, but now this content page, right, this can be anything. So I can here do MAUI. So let's add that, and instead of a Blazor web view, I'm going to add here a label, and I'm just going to say text is, this is a MAUI page, and maybe give this a color of black, because else we might not see it, and a font size a little bit bigger so that it shows up nicely. Here we are. So I think this is not going to work with the hot reload. So let's just stop here for a moment. And now we have a tab page, and we're going to see the tabs as they're supposed to on Android, but we have different pages in here, right? It's still going to load the whole Blazor application inside of one content page, so we probably want to change that. So let's add the XML and S, and let's name that pages is, and then we're going to search for pages here, which is our MAUI mix Blazor sample. That's the name of my application, dot pages, not MAUI pages. We'll get to that in a little bit. So pages, because this in here solution, we have these pages, right? And this is our Razor pages. So I want to add that namespace right here. And now I can reference those instead of just loading this whole local main, which is pointing here to this main.razor, loading this whole application in here, right? That's not something that we want to do anymore. I want to just load this one page. So I added this pages right here, and now I can say pages, and I can use index, right? That's one of the pages. Or I can do pages, and I can do counter. right? So now we just have the index and the counter. And whenever I start running this again, we will now see the tabs as they are supposed to look like on Android, because the tab page is a native thing that we're going to see on Android. I have a little build error here because the main page is now a different base class. I'm going to give you a pro tip right here. So let's go to our main page.xaml.cs, and you can see that now this main page inherits from content page, because this XAML was a content page, but now it's a tab page, right? And this is the thing. It's a partial class because we have a part in XAML and a part in code. And here's the trick. You can just remove this. We don't need it because it's a partial class. It will know from the XAML page that this is a thing. So now you never have to kind of worry about these errors again. So let's just do it again. You'll see that it just works. So now we have the tab page. That was what I was talking about. And the tabs will look like however they're supposed to look like on your Android version, right? But now the first tab, the index one, will have the index page for our Blazor application. The second one will have the counter page, and the third one will have a MAUI page. Now, in this case, it's just simple content pages, but you can create a file new page inside of your project, and you can just load that whole page in here, which can have a barcode scanner, which can have a map, right? So you can just have that full page in there, and that will just work. And this way you can mix and match. One page will be your Blazor application, one page will be your other application. I still have build errors here, so sorry about that. I'm not sure why that is. I'm just going to leave this in so you see that I make stupid mistakes as well. Main page already contains a definition for Blazor web view. Oh, there we go. I have the name still in here, so that's why it's kind of confused right now, which is kind of weird because it's in two different pages, but let's remove it right now. And let's see what happens now. All right, that worked. So our application is being deployed. It should pop up here on the right in a little bit, and our application is here. So whenever we do, we're going to see the thing that I've described with a couple of tabs. There's going to be one weird thing. Think to yourself what that might be. So here you can see, like the tabs, we have the top tabs, we have the index, we have the counter, it still works. We have the index, and now we have the MAUI page with this label, right? This is a MAUI page. So the one thing that you'll notice is that the styling from the HTML from our Blazor application is gone. Because, you know, we were loading that main.razor before, right? And this wraps everything inside of this main layout. So you need to take into account that you add a little bit of HTML styling, whatever, inside of your separate pages now, or wrap it inside of a main layout. But that's something that you can definitely figure out. I believe in you. So that's kind of like the first obvious thing to do here, how you can mix and match all these things. But more subtle ways is maybe to just have one page popping up inside of your Blazor application, right? So let me just put this in a comment here so you can see that, because all of my videos have a GitHub repo attached with the sample code. It will be down below in the video description, so go check that out. I will put this here in a comment, and I will add the Blazor MAUI tabs right here, so that you can find it for reference, right? I'm going to change this back to a content page so that we just have this one page, and I'm going to give this back to this Blazor web view so that we have this full Blazor application again. So there's that. Now, then I need to change this, right? So I need to make this local and main again. So now we're back to this full Blazor hybrid application. And let's look at the second way of kind of mixing these things here. Don't forget, this is just a content page. This is a main page. So we can pop other pages, well, actually push other pages on top of this, right? So let's see how to do that. So in this solution, in this project, I already created a couple of MAUI pages. You can see it right here. I have this MAUI page.xaml. It's very simple, just a stack layout with an image, with a label. Don't forget to subscribe. Maybe that's something that you want to do to this channel. Go do it right now. And we can just show this page. Now, this is a very simple example, but again, here you can show your .NET MAUI maps, right? You can put that in here if you want. You can put in your barcode scanner here. That's all stuff that you can do. So let's see how we can make this pop up inside of our application. So let's go to our pages, our Razor pages, and go to the counter. Doesn't really matter which one, and because this one has a button already, right? So this has some code set up already, and instead of incrementing, well, let's just keep it incrementing. Doesn't really matter. We can do app.current.navigation. Oh, sorry, the main page first. Main page dot navigation, and now we can just do navigation stuff. We can just do push modal or push async. So for push async, you're going to need to wrap your page inside of a navigation page. So let's just do that first. Let's see what happens. So we're going to do new MAUI page, and I think it's in a different namespace, MAUI pages dot MAUI page. Here we go. And now we can push this page on top of it. But this only works if you are using a navigation page, right? So let's go to our app.xaml.cs because that's where our main page is being set. And here we have this main page. So you need to wrap this into a new navigation page. And whenever we do, something interesting is going to happen, right? So what we're doing now is we have a new navigation page, which is kind of an invisible thing, but it will give you the navigation option. So whenever you push something on the stack, you will get that little back button in the top left, and you can go back through the pages, right? So that's kind of like what it does. And we're doing this new main page, which is the main page with our Blazor. This is the MAUI page with our Blazor web view. Here we are, this one. And inside of that, we are going to go to our counter page, our counter.razor. So we're suddenly in Blazor land here, but we go back to .NET MAUI with the app.current.mainpage.navigation push async. And here we're going to do a MAUI page, which is just another content page. So this goes a little bit quickly. I think on YouTube, you can play back with like half speed. Maybe that makes sense, or watch it a couple of times over. But this is how it works. So if we're going to do this, like I said, something interesting is going to happen because, we have this big Blazor web view, which already has a little top bar and a hamburger menu and whatnot. So kind of like our navigation page that's already built in. So it's not going to look great, right? Because the navigation page also gives us a little top bar, which has the title of that page inside of it, right? So we'll probably see MAUI page somewhere inside of there. So that's something that you don't want to see. I'm going to show you how to fix it in a little bit, but let's just wait for our application. See, now we have this double top bar here at the top, which is not really great. But what should work is if I go to the counter right here and I click on the button, now you can see that we get this MAUI page, right? So this is suddenly a MAUI page, and we can do all kinds of MAUI native stuff in here instead of Blazor stuff. And you can see that MAUI page right here, but this is not something that you want, at least not here inside of your main page, right? So how are we going to fix that? Well, here in our main page, we can say, it's a bit of a mess. The indentation is a bit weird here, but we can say navigation page dot, and then we have a couple of properties that we can use to influence the navigation page that might or might not be the parent of this content page. Doesn't really matter if it is. If it is, then it will apply these properties. If the navigation page isn't there, it will just ignore it. So here you can say has back button, icon color, all kinds of things, but also say has navigation bar. So we can set that to false, and let's see if the hot reload picks up. Yeah, it picks up. So you can see that now the navigation bar pops away. It doesn't look ugly here anymore. And whenever we do click me here, it will still add it here so that we can easily go back, right? So this makes it a little bit nicer to mix and match these things. Of course, another way to also do this is to go back to our counter razor page and here say push modal. So if I do push modal, now I can do hot reload, .NET hot reload, click the little flame button here. It will reload my code. And now it will push it as a model. No, it didn't work for this .NET hot reload instance. So let's stop and restart. But what it's going to do now is push as a modal, and a modal page is a page that's going to be, on top of everything, right? And we're going to have to provide a button to actually close it again. There won't be a back button or something to do it. On Android, of course, you have the hardware back button to actually go back. But on iOS or Windows or whatnot, it's going to be a modal page, and you can't get out of it until you add a button to actually close that page and pop back to the regular pages, right? So, but for this, you don't need the navigation page, so you can go back to your app XAML. You can get rid of this navigation page if that's not something that you want, because now it's just going to, show as well. It's going to show it like this. You see that you also don't have the navigation bar here at the top. With this, you can skip the navigation page. The only thing that you need to take into account now is that you have to add a button yourself to this page to actually do pop modal async again, so that the page will pop here again as well. I can maybe quickly add that. So let's see, to our MAUI page. I'm going to add a button here at the bottom. Button text is close. And clicked is, let's add a new clicked handler and do that. And whenever I save this, then we should see the button. See, we have the close button. And let's see if we have this handler here in the back. And now I can say pop, what is it? Pop navigation navigation dot pop modal async. Here we go. And do that. I hope hot reload will pick up on this. Let's see. Close. No, it doesn't. Well, you probably believe me that it works, right? So then it's going to close this page again, and you're back in your Blazor application. Actually, it now crashes, I see. So that's great. That's my cue to go to the third option, which is maybe even, well, the best one. I don't know. You decide what's the best one, right? Which fit your needs and requirements. And the third one is similar to the second one, where you just juggle with pages in .NET MAUI, but you can use the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. The .NET MAUI Community Toolkit and probably other plugins are around there as well that will allow you to show a little pop-up, which is something that you can do as well. So install the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. I've got videos on how to do that. I actually got a video on how to use the pop-ups in more detail as well. Go check out the corner of your screen or the links down below. I already got it set up. So what I did here is in the MAUI pages folder, I have this MAUI pop-up page. So this is a pop-up, and I'm going to show that on top of my Blazor application. And you can actually see I also installed the ZXing barcode component right here, which I also have a video about. So I highly recommend you check that out if that's something that you're interested in. But just to make this sample a little bit more real and not show a couple of labels, but show you that you can actually use something like this, right? So if we do this, let's go back to my counter.razor and let's actually add another thing here and not click me. So let's make this open MAUI page, and let's make this open MAUI pop-up, just so we have two here. And let's name this open page, right? So that it looks a little bit nicer right here. Let's copy this and here open pop-up, right? So let's do that, add that to that one. And now what I can do, you have to call this on the main page. So you have to call this on the here, and then we have a show pop-up method right here. And you want to use the show pop-up async, at least for what I'm going to do. If you just want to show a static pop-up that doesn't return any data, you can use show pop-up if that's what you want. But I can do show pop-up async, and I can catch the return value. I'll show you why in a little bit. So let's do new MAUI pop-up page, I think I called it, right? Pop-up page. There we go. Add the right using probably. Yes, using mix MAUI Blazor samples MAUI pages. It's going to add it here at the top for me. And now it knows the MAUI pop-up page. So whenever I do that, I should now be able to run it again. And like I said, in this page, I set up the ZXing barcode scanner thing. You have to set up some things in your MAUI program whenever you install it. I'm not going to go into in detail because that's not the focus of this video. But this is going to scan actual barcodes. It's going to open my camera. You have to add the permissions to your app. It's still a native mobile app, so you have to add these permissions. But it will come up and it will show me the camera view, and I can scan actual barcodes, and I can use that return value back in my Blazor application. So here the application is coming back up. Let me bring up my physical device here, and I'm going to go to my counter, and I'm going to open the MAUI pop-up. And you should see right now, see here is the permissions in action. I'm going to do it while using the app, which is fine. And then it's going to show you this camera view right here. See, so you can see behind the scenes here a little bit. And I have the little box of paper clips, which has a barcode. And it's not going to scan it right now because I didn't set up anything. But let's see how we can implement the actual scanning right here. So if we go back, and you can close this, right? So I can close this from here, and boom, we're back into the Blazor world. So let's see how we can actually get back the value from here. Now, what we want to do is probably set up the event, which is, I don't know, something with detected, barcodes detected. I'm going to create a new event handler, which is going to pop up in my code behind. And here I can say close, because we're in a pop-up, right? Close is a method inside of our .NET MAUI Community Toolkit pop-up. So we have close, and in the close, we can provide a return value. And here in the event arguments, we have the e.result and this is a collection actually, so let's just take the first one. This is not the best code, so don't try this at home. And then the value, because the result has a couple of metadata for the barcode that has been scanned, but the value will have the value that is inside of that barcode, right? In this case, it's going to be some numbers. So it's going to close this pop-up, and it's going to give back the value that was scanned here. So now if I go back to my counter.razor, I can here do var result is, and then I have to await it, and I have to do a sing here in order to do that. And then let's add a little entry here as well. So what do we do? Input. My HTML is a little bit rusty. Input, and we can, with Blazor, we can say add bind, right? And we can say result value. I don't know, something like that, right? And then this. Okay, input. Yeah, I think that's it, but it doesn't know this result value yet. Okay, that's something we can work with. Private string result value. Boom. We've got that set up. Now it should be happy. Okay, cool. And if we want to do this, now we can say result value is result. All right, and then we probably need to do state changed or something. That's a very much Blazor thing. State has changed to update the bindings. So this is basically your data binding, but now in HTML with CSS. Oh, we need to do this. This is an object, and this is I know this is going to be a string, right? So again, this is sample code. You probably want to add some error handling and stuff here. But I know a string is going to be returned. I'm going to put that in that result value, and it's going to show up in that input. So I think now everything is set up. So what should happen now is whenever it scans a barcode, it will detect that, and it will give that return value back to our Blazor application, and it should close the pop-up, right? Because that is what it's going to actually do. So let's see if that actually works. And then we have our kind of like end-to-end integration where we start with our Blazor application, but we still want to use the barcode scanner in .NET MAUI. We can do that. We can grab the value from that thing. We can send that back to our Blazor application, and now we have a fully integrated .NET MAUI Blazor best of both worlds application, basically. So here we go. You can see the entry here down at the bottom. I need to work on my styling, but oh well. Open MAUI pop-up, and you're going to see the camera again. And let's turn this to this barcode, and it's going to actually scan it. Boom. And you can see it picks up on that value, and it gives me also a exception because I actually forgot to do something right here. So, but you can see it works, right? And I will tell you why this is happening. I need to actually stop scanning the barcodes right here. So I want to go back to my pop-up page and use this scanner. I made a reference here. I want to say scanner.is detecting to false so that it stops actually scanning and it cleans up all the resources and that kind of stuff. And that will actually make it work here. So that is how you can scan your barcodes with .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid and integrate .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid with all the things here. Phew! Now, I think that is a lot of information to take in. There is a couple of ways to do that. There is a lot to consider here because also, like the thing that I didn't even mention, if you're going to use the tabbed approach, like the different pages in the tabs, then suddenly your Blazor application is not going to have state between those different pages, right? So you're going to have to create a singleton object that will hold your state, and you're going to have to register that inside of your dependency injection container and basically use that. So there's definitely things, you have to have a little bit of a different model here to actually make this work, but you definitely can. And I hope I showed you that a Blazor Hybrid application is still a .NET MAUI application, and you can use the best of both worlds. And that is what I think is really cool. If you want to know more about anything that I've showed here and I didn't go into with enough detail, please let me know down in the comments. Of course, also if you want to learn more about the Blazor stuff, the .NET MAUI stuff, find the other videos about the barcode scanner, the pop-ups. I got it all in playlists. In fact, let me just show you right here. This is a playlist with all the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit stuff, including the pop-ups. Here is that video on the barcodes, and I will see you for the next one.